Hi, my name is Lyord Watson Jr. I am a founding member of Birmingham Change Fund and a member of the Community Investment Network.
And I am Anthony Hood. I am also a member of the Birmingham Change Fund and a board member of the Community Investment Network.
We'll get our presentation started. Okay.
So I think we're going to start with just a video that we did around the Birmingham Change Fund and the Community Investment Network to kind of give you a visualization of kind of who we are, and then we'll kind of go into it. I think the other thing that I want to set the stage is, although we're going to be sharing from our experience and what we see as our best practices, we don't have all the answers, and so we want this to be a dialogue because we want to know how we can best come alongside you guys and to make sure that we're operating effectively when we need to respond to some type of disaster or something. So I will skip to the next slide. Hopefully the volume is fine.
It all started with a desire to change Birmingham collectively.
I joined the Birmingham Change Fund in an effort to make a tangible impact in the community and to do so with like-minded people.
I love BCF because it exemplifies that so few can impact so many.
The opportunity to collectively work with other African Americans in the Birmingham area to make our city a better place for us to be was just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up.
I was quite intrigued by the fact that other like-minded young African American professional men and women,
not just talking about improving the community, but strategically and collectively bringing about measurable change.
The reason I joined Birmingham Change Fund was to leverage my resources with others in order to make Birmingham a better place to live.
I joined the BCF to serve my community. As a black man born and raised in the inner city of Birmingham, I feel it is my duty.
I joined BCF to change our community's image and to work with like-minded people.
It has been one of the most rewarding things that I've done as a professional. I am looking forward to continuing to work with the Birmingham Change Fund for many years to come.
In 2003 in Birmingham, Alabama, a conversation led by Darrell Lester of Hindsight Consulting and sponsored by Lynetta Gilbert of the Ford Foundation, asking young African Americans to share how they spend their time, talent, and treasure to improve their community. From these conversations, the Birmingham Change Fund was created in 2004 with 21 founding members. What is a giving circle?
A giving circle is a group who leverages their personal time, talents, and treasure to address social issues in their communities using thoughtful giving strategies. This group can have a greater impact by working together than a single individual can have when working in isolation.
Philanthropy means the love of humanity. Over $50,000 has been given to nonprofits since 2004. Three main focus areas of the collective giving: education, healthcare, and economics. The BCF has given grants to Cornerstone Schools of Alabama, Birmingham Urban League, North Star Ministries, Girls Inc. of Central Alabama, Community Investment Network, Treasury Arts, Need a Chance Incorporated, Pathways, and the Children's Hospital Foundation. In 2009, BCF redirected the focus area to education and started a new grant cycle. In 2010, BCF studied the Birmingham City School System. And in 2011, BCF awarded grants focused on math and science for middle school students. Time, talent, and treasure in action. Under time, the Birmingham Change Fund has volunteered with other grant recipients. Under talent, We have created local workshops in philanthropy and collective giving, and also helped launch other giving circles. Under Treasure, in 2011, the BCF awarded a 3-year grant of $30,000 to the educational partnership between McWayne Center and the William James Christian K-8 school. Focus area on math and science education for middle school students.
We decided to focus on 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in the areas of math and science. Because of our research, we felt that this was a critical time in the life of a student. If students could begin to think about the possibility of what they could be, then that would impact their decisions throughout high school. One of the benefits of sending out a request for proposal is that you have the opportunity to see what other organizations are doing. And there are some great organizations in Birmingham who are doing great work. In the end, we decided on funding the Science Partnership Program between McWayne Science Center and WJ Christian Middle School. What stood out to us the most in the grant proposal was the various levels of interaction between McWayne and WJ Christian. McWayne provided professional development for the teachers. The partnership brought the students to the Science Center for workshops. McWayne went to the school and conducted workshops. And McWayne also created a resource center in the school that the teachers could use to teach science more creatively. As a result of the partnership and the grant, the overall standardized test scores at WJ Christian have increased. And I personally experienced the students' excitement about learning when I visited the school during one of their workshops. Our grant-making process has been a journey, and I know that all the members of Birmingham Change Fund are excited about the next leg of the trip.
In the future, BCF will be a global philanthropic brand, changing lives and continuing to make the world better.
Let me figure out how to minimize it. So the video that we just showed you is about Birmingham Change Fund. Birmingham Change Fund is a giving circle, and so Laura's going to tell you a little bit more about giving circles. But the Community Investment Network, that's an organization that I sit on the board of. Laura Watson is a former board member of Community Investment Network. Community Investment Network is a national network of giving circles around the country, of which Birmingham Change Fund is one of those members. And so our mission statement here is: we inspire, connect, and we strengthen African Americans and communities of color to leverage their collective resources and create the change they wish to see. So we're going to talk about some of our values, and core to our values is really allowing people to mobilize their own resources and invest in what they see, because from our perspective, the people who are in the communities are the experts in their communities. And so this is a little bit different from traditional philanthropy, where oftentimes you have people outside the community giving into a community that they may have limited understanding or misunderstanding of the real issues that are happening in that community. But when you actually empower and equip the people who are in the community, our theory of change is you're going to have much more impactful results when you actually empower and equip the people who are in the community.
Other than what you just said.
So when I think about philanthropy, how I need to ask to empower them is that when you break the word down, it's broken down into what philanthropy actually means. Philo meaning love, anthropos meaning mankind.
Other than what
So,
you just said.
so philanthropy really means love of mankind. So when I think about philanthropy, we look at it from that how anybody can be a philanthropist. Is that when you break the word down, it's broken down to set that philo meaning love, anthropos meaning mankind. Because what it does, it it doesn't mean that really means that no matter what situation, no matter where you're at, you have a chance to help. Look at it from that point of view. Anybody can be a philanthropist, something. So it's important that we set that groundwork. Because we're not going to exclude what it does. It doesn't mean that it means that no matter what situation, no matter where you're at, you have a chance to help your fellow. Just because you don't have part of building something great, what have you to give away to help someone, it does not mean that you're giving, that what you can give is not going to exclude them. No. Doesn't mean they want to give us money, so let's take you start with. But just because you don't have, million or a billion or what have you to give away to help someone, it does not mean that you're giving, that what you can give is not important, and it doesn't mean that you are not a philanthropist. When we talk about the principles, that's where we start from a bottom-up approach. It was interesting when I first started this. We started in 2000. It was 2004 when we actually first started, and we were going into situations. We were going into places where I'm talking with people who didn't necessarily look like me. So when we talk about the principles of social change, Birmingham Change Fund, we are a field of interest fund. When I first started, we started in 2000. It was 2000. So that means that 21 of us, we've gone into situations, we're going into places where I'm talking with people who didn't necessarily look like the diversity of the community foundation. And so Birmingham Change Fund, so what I've learned is that field of interest fund of the community foundation, as we work together, as we learn more about this. So that means that the 21 of us, so many things that community foundations can do in the community foundation. If they're not diverse, they miss on the diversity of the community foundation, their full potential and full capacity. And so what I've learned is that, and again, I go back as we work together, as we learn more about this institution, that happened in Birmingham. There's so many things that community foundations can do. As student comes in, they're looking for a partner. They're not diverse, and they miss out on resources, their full potential and full capacity. And if those places are not diverse, and again, I go back to sometimes the voice of can be mixed. What happened in Birmingham intentionally, because when just entities such as FEMA comes in, they're looking for a partner. They're looking for places where they can help park resources in order to help the community. So it's important. If those places are not inclusive, it's important to be strategic. Then sometimes the voice of communities can be. I ask people, whether who gets up and decides. It's just what happens. I'm just gonna take a vacation. I'm gonna go somewhere and not know where you're going to go or where the money is. When I ask that question, ultimately somebody always raises their hand. So it's important to have be inclusive. It's important to be strategic. That's the other thing. I'll say for me, I can't do that. I need to know where I'm going to leave. I need to know where I'm going. Who gets up and just decides. I need to know all of that stuff. I'm just being strategic. I'm taking a vacation about somewhere and not know where you're going to go. Right. And when I ask that question, ultimately somebody always raises their hand and say they'll do that. But I'll say for me, I can't do that. I need to know where I'm going to leave. I need to know where I'm going. I need to know how I'm going to eat. I need to know all of that stuff. I'm being strategic. I'm being intentional about where I'm going on vacation. And it's the same thing we talk about finances. The same thing we talk about money, right? And we talk about how we give our money, how we invest in other organizations. And so philanthropy, if you want to give and to be just the feeling of feeling good, that's one thing. That's great. I'm not knocking that or what have you. However, if you want to give and have impact, that means you have to be intentional about your giving, right? So for us, it meant spending the entire year studying in school district, talking to people at all levels, whether it's the janitors, whether it's the teachers, whether it's the superintendent, parents, students, and then on the back end, starting to look around the nation at different models, figuring out what works with Birmingham, and then with our own money investing in it. And so that's what we call community philanthropy. I can tell you, you're a lot more accountable. Communities are a lot more accountable when they're giving of their own money. Right. I hold people a lot more accountable when I'm giving of my own money than when money is given to me or I'm stewarding it for somebody else. I understand. I'm very much concerned about where it goes, how it's being used, and then the return on the investment. Right. And so it's the same thing when you see communities giving them their own resources. And the last thing is being creative. I think that if money can solve issues, then some of the issues would already have been solved. But money does not solve all these issues. So oftentimes when a storm happens or something happens and FEMA comes in, if you come into a community that is distressed, then what you're walking into is the magnification of being distressed because of the natural catastrophe that's already happened there. And so how do you begin to rebuild? How do you begin to empower and encourage people to rebuild from where they are at? And it just takes being creative. And being creative is being open to new ideas, new thoughts, and I know that you all are quick on your feet because I just saw how you all talked to Jose while he was up here. So I'm not worried about the creative part. So, that's our principles of social change for me.
So to tell you a little bit more about the process of how Birmingham Change Fund operates, to kind of piggyback on what Lyord says, it's important that we are the first givers into our own communities. And so we actually have dues. Right now, we pay $365 into our fund on an annual basis, and we give out grants. So we have an RFP process where we say this is what we're looking to fund. But like Lyord said, we do a lot of research before we actually develop that RFP. You know, we figure out what is important to us, what do we want to fund, what are the needs in the community. And our last grant cycle, what was very impactful for us is that we convened a group of nonprofit organizations who are actually on the ground in the schools doing mentoring, doing case management in our schools. We invited them to come to our meeting, and we had them sit on a panel, and we had them tell us what are they doing, what are the issues in the community, and how can we help. And so I think that's a little bit different than oftentimes what we see in nonprofit organizations where, you know, sometimes the people who are leading it may be disconnected from the actual issues that are happening on the ground. And so that money is not as impactful as it can be. And so the other insights that I know Lyord and I had was we convened a panel of 5 or 6 organizations that were all addressing issues around mentoring African American boys and girls. And what we realized is none of these organizations had ever talked to each other. So we had one organization that was in the schools 8 to 5 doing case management. We had another organization that was only after school. We had one organization that was only on weekends. We had another organization that only did summer programming. So when you look at it, each one of them were tackling a piece of the issue as it relates to developing a comprehensive solution to the issue of, you know, supporting African American boys and girls educational-wise in Birmingham, but there was no seamless care transition. So what we realized that another role for us could be not as a convener and as a collaborator amongst individuals to make sure that people know who's doing what. As a professor in the business school at UAB, I do strategic planning, I write business plans. It seems like every week I have somebody come to me and say, Anthony, I need help writing a business plan. I'm like, okay, for what? I want to start a nonprofit organization mentoring African American boys. Like there are 25 organizations in Birmingham that are doing the exact same thing. Do we need 26? You know, so what we realize is that there is an opportunity for us to come in and kind of help, you know, reduce the redundancy that we see oftentimes in the philanthropic community. So with us, not only do we do these RFPs and we make grants, but our money, along with our money, we also give our time and our talent. So our last grant cycle, we gave $10,000 to Jones Valley Teaching Farms. They were building a greenhouse at a school in Birmingham, but they're actually having the kids being involved in the greenhouse. So they're teaching the kids about math and about agriculture in the building of the greenhouse. So along with the money that we gave them, we also came in and did professional development and mentoring alongside the organization in the schools with the kids. So for us, that's how we like to operate. We want to give you our time, our talent, and our treasure. And the fourth thing that we do is we give our testimony. So actually having us in that classroom being role models and helping shape the identities of the people, and particularly the children in our city is really important to us. I've really kind of touched on that. Lyord, I'm going to put it over to you and kind of talk about some of the other giving circles in our network.
So, Community Investment Network is a national organization. Well, we have about 12 giving circles now. A part of the network. I think we've had as many as 15 or 16. You already know what Birmingham Change Fund does, and some of these numbers are a little bit out of date. Circle of Joy, Giving Circle in Atlanta, and so they focus on youth. Started in 2007. And so they really focus on giving of their treasures, but it's really their time, right? And so they count their time and how much time each one of the members give to the organizations in which they make grants. And so a part of their grant making is the time and the talent. So sometimes what we found is that organizations, they could use our resources, but our expertise. So what is it like to have a professor of strategic planning on your board to help you in your organization? You couldn't pay for that, right? But what is it like to have someone who has the network that you need in order to reach people, in order to fund your organization, to help your organization move forward, right? You can't pay for that. So it's the relationship piece, it's the human element that could be missing on their board that could be more than anything that we could grant to them. A tradition of, a legacy of tradition. So what is interesting about this group, right, is that it was through their giving circle that they funded a research study of how, of the suspension rates, particularly for young men in that county. And because of that study, they were able to greatly impact and greatly reduce the suspension rates, right? And it's all because of those gentlemen. Most of them do not work in the school district. Most of them work in corporate America, what have you, but they saw a need and they were able to fund it. And so they used more of their funding. It was a small grant, but it had great impact. And the reason it had great impact is because they were so close to the issue that they funded.
Lloyd, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Would you hold that mic up under your chin?
Here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here?
Thank you very much.
Everybody give me here.
Yeah, you're getting a feedback.
All right, thank you. NGAP. NGAP they started a book project. It was a photo book project, a coffee table book, and it started in 2006. Just sharing the story about how African American giving had happened over time in different areas and different communities around the nation. And currently that book is still selling, and it's still, all that proceeds from that book goes back into their fund, and they make grants there locally in their community for the arts and for education and for other entities as well. This is one of my favorite giving circles. These ladies are a quilting circle, and they make their quilts and they sell their quilts. I can tell you those quilts are about $800. I'm still trying to save up to get one. However, right, the money they get from selling their quilts, they put back into their communities. And so what they did, what was creative about them is they saw that teachers it's a rural community, and that they were not able to retain teachers. And so what they did was took their funds, they rent a bus for the day, and the new teachers that came into the district, they would take these teachers and put them on the bus, and they would take them around to the different areas in the county. They want to introduce the teachers to the parents and to the community, and they want to introduce the parents and the students to the teachers in their own houses, in their own community. And so what they have done was they have reduced the, I don't remember the exact number, it's been a while since I've heard the exact number, but they have reduced the amount of teacher turnover in their community by using the funds that they made from selling quilts strategically in order to impact teacher turnover. I'll say one last thing. It's not up there. There's one other organization, the Zawadi Fund. And so the Zawadi Fund started in New Orleans, and it started right before Katrina happened. And so they got started. They placed their money there in the Community Foundation of Greater New Orleans, I believe it is, and then they were dispersed because of what happened. They continued to operate and function because the circles are built of networks of people and relationships. They were just sending the money back to the Community Foundation. They were still able to operate and make grants into the community. And so the thing about circles is they're flexible. It doesn't matter, you don't have to necessarily, you can be of a place, from a place, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be physically in that place in order to make that impact. It's all about being able to just meet the needs from the ground up approach.
I'll just finish up by giving you two other examples of two other initiatives that Lyord and I are involved in. One is a community engagement initiative at UAB called one great community. And so you guys can't see this, okay? I know it's really small, but it's essentially a cross-section of people within the community as well as faculty on campus. What we recognize is that we have a lot of scientists and researchers at UAB that will go out, write grants. They will get these multi-million-dollar grants from the National Institutes of Health or National Science Foundation, and after they get that money, say for instance they're doing research on diabetes or high blood pressure, they get them and it's like, okay, now we need to find 75 African-American women between the ages of 55 and 75 that are obese, and now they have to go out into the community and try to develop relationships. And what happens is they come in, they have a 3-year grant, they build relationships with the people in the community. Maybe they go out to a church, they engage with a pastor, they get people to enroll in a study, and then what happens when the money runs out? They leave. Okay? And so then what that happens is that builds up bad capital with us at UAB, and so it makes it difficult when other people want to come into a community and help. They say, well, the last researchers that came into this community, they built up all this trust and help with us, and then they left. They didn't give us the results of the study. They got some findings, but it's like, okay, you're sick and you're going to die in 3 years. Okay, what are you going to do to help me? That's not my job. My job is to write another grant. So what this initiative does is make sure that we're developing these coalitions with people who are in the community and recognize that they have expertise on their own community, and also inviting them to be a part of the team. So this is a much more team-based approach than the way we've done science in the past. So Lyord and I are actually co-chairs of this community engagement initiative. I'm the co-chair from the faculty standpoint, and Lyord is the co-chair from the community standpoint. There's another initiative that's just launched in Birmingham called Innovate Birmingham. And so Innovate Birmingham is responding to the need to have more people in urban areas to engage in things like coding and understand technology. So it addresses disadvantaged, disconnected youth between the ages of 18 to 29 years old and takes them through a 9 or 10-week boot camp class on how to learn how to code. But then it's a bigger initiative than that is really how do we turn Birmingham into this entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem so that we can compete with the likes of the Nashvilles and the Austin, Texas, and things like that. What we realize is that you have a lot of people who are coming into the community from what we call, quote unquote, over the mountain. They're dumping money into the community and developing these coding classes, but is it really inclusive to everybody in the community? One of the concerns in Birmingham is the G word, gentrification. So what happens if you start bringing in these breweries and these restaurants and all these shiny things, and then you displace the people who have been here for decades? And so this Innovate Birmingham is really trying to develop this cross-section of people within the community to make sure that the resources that are now starting to flow into Birmingham get dispersed equitably and make sure that everybody feels like they're welcome to come into the urban core of Birmingham and to thrive. So I think through these initiatives, whether it's Community Investment Network, Birmingham Change Fund, Innovate Birmingham, or this UAB One Great Community, what we realize is community engagement is difficult. A lot of people don't know how to do it well, and there are a lot of well-meaning people that come in and do more harm than they do good. And so through this process, we've been going out and trying to find what these models look like in other cities. Who's doing community engagement well? Who's really creating inclusive environments where decision-making is comprehensive, where you can have somebody with a PhD as well as somebody that's a high school dropout, but each person is recognized for the expertise that they bring to the table. And again, it's challenging. We're trying to figure it out. I think we're making some progress, but there's a lot more progress to go. So with that, I think the rest of the time, we would like to just engage in some conversation and dialogue with you guys based on what we've told you about us. I'm still learning about you guys. Well, all I know about you guys is you come in after the tornadoes or something like that happens. But what are the ways that we can partner with you guys using what we're doing, what we're learning, and maybe help you guys in what you're doing when you have to respond to some type of challenge? Yes, sir.
Go back to your core value slide.
Okay. Here. There it is.
Good job, Carl.
Well, I think we can probably make these slides available to you guys.
That'd be great. Yeah. That's easier.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question. So in the one great community.
Wait.
Sing it, girl.
In the example of the one great community, could you walk me through what was the difference between, I mean, you gave us the example of they're coming in with their research fund and then saying peace out and the money's gone. And how would your organization change that process?
So I'll give you an example. So we meet on a regular basis, at least every other month. Our council is made up half community people, half UAB people. We invite people to come and speak to us. We had one medical student that came. He said, hey, we're having an event because we want to make sure that there's patient-physician communication that's helpful. So we're going to have a bunch of doctors, a bunch of residents. We're going to meet and we want to invite community people to come out and engage with us to kind of help with communication. He's like, that sounds great. Where are you meeting? Well, we're meeting at this brewery or whatever that was, you know, on the yuppie side of town. I'm like, if you really want community people to come and engage with you, why don't you actually go into the communities where the people are that it never occurred to them? So having something like this where you can actually engage with community people up front before you write the grant or before you launch the initiative, we think is going to be a much more inclusive process. So what we advocate for now is, why not make the pastor of the church or Ms. Johnson that's in the community a co-author on your paper or a co-investigator on the grant? Recognizing that they have expertise to the table. They may not have a PhD or MD, but their expertise is just as valuable as everybody else that went to school for 15 years. So that's the thing that we are advocating for, is making sure that community people are part of it. Yes, sir.
Okay, follow up on that. What was your process of identifying community champions for your concept?
So,
repeat the question, please?
Yeah, what was
the mic? Okay. I asked the gentleman, what was his process of identifying community champions to support your concept?
So Birmingham, at some point in our history, was divided into 99 neighborhoods. And so each of the 99 neighborhoods has a council. You have a president, vice president, and a secretary. So Dr. Shantice Allen was really the brainchild behind this one great community. And she actually did a survey where she engaged, you know, with the 99 neighborhood, you know, presidents and vice presidents, and actually did a survey and say, what is going on in your community that are the biggest issues that UAB could help to address? And so she came up with this list of what the community people told her, and it was things like blight, it was about physical activity, it was about safety and crime and things like that. So that's kind of the genesis of this one great community council, how it came about. So from that, we tend to try to make sure that we're engaging with the leadership of the neighborhoods, but it's also a cross-section of people within the community.
So let me speak to Birmingham Change Fund and how that concept kind of got off the ground. So it was Ford Foundation who actually came in and did a listening tour. And so I can remember that first meeting, what have you, there were so many people in that room that, you know, you sitting elbow to elbow. And so there was no shortage of people who wanted to get engaged and get involved. However, when we start talking about putting money on the table, that number dwindled. Right? And so it's one thing to get people in the room to have a conversation, but it's another thing to get people to invest. And so that's really how we started our model. We wanted to make sure that we had people who invested in each other, because we did not know where we were going to house the money. We did not know what we were going to be giving to. We didn't know any of that stuff. We gave our money first and then figured that out on the back end. So those who gave the money had a chance to kind of shake the pool and where we went. And so we have, you know, ongoing membership process of how we bring people in. But we're careful about how we bring people in, because we want to make sure that our core values and our culture that we have built stays intact.
And, you know, at the bottom line, you know, everything is relationship based. You know, and so traditional philanthropy has been built on relationships. But what happens is you have a bunch of very wealthy people that tend to congregate with a lot of very wealthy people. You know, so when you want to engage in communities, you need to engage with the people who are there, And they will tell you, based on their networks and their relationships, who do you need to talk to. And so you go into communities and you ask 3 people, you know, who do I need to talk to if I want to get X done? Those 3 people probably give you the same name, you know, and so that's how you find out who are the opinion leaders and the opinion brokers. So for Lord and I mean, we are actually in the community, we live in the community, we work in the community, we go to church in the community. So when people need to get in contact with somebody, we can tend to plug in because we're actually in a part of the community. We had a hand up over here.
My question is, what accountability metrics are you using to assess success or failure of your ROI or your ROI in general? What metrics are you using to assess
So
failure?
I'll take an early shot at that. So when we're making grants, you know, part of the grant process is that the potential grantee is going to tell us how they're going to measure success, because every project is different. So as part of the grant process and how we're going to decide who we're going to give money to, they have to tell us their evaluation plan. I know you guys are probably familiar with the grant process, but they'll tell us the evaluation plan, and then we expect a report back. We also do site visits before we give out the money, and then because we're giving our time and our talent, we're actually coming alongside them and being with them so we can see things that are happening. I hope that helps.
Do we have one more question? I'm gonna just say for that accountability before we go to that next question, that accountability piece. So when we do our research, we kind of have an idea about what we want to see happen. So we know that there was an issue in math and science scores, and so we figured out, okay, if we want to make an impact, right? The last possible time we really felt like we could really make a strong impact is right before they went to high school to kind of catch students up. And so built into our request for proposal, how are you going to impact those students in those grades to help them in math and science? And so by asking that targeted question, when you answer the question, well, that's okay. We give you the grant. Well, we just want to make sure that you can do what you said you would do, and we just follow. And we also take the approach now. It's a science project. We don't know if we're gonna always get it right or not. And so we're flexible enough to know that it might not go right, or we might need to pivot, we might need to change. We got to be flexible and be creative as well.
Actually, a comment and a question. And after Sandy, there was a group of grad students who got together and did a massive amount of research, and they wrote a report called The Tale of Two Sandies. And it was interesting because they were basically saying communities that had a lot of money were much more resilient. They had the ability to build back. However, there were communities that did not have a lot of resources of dollars, but they had strong community organizations, they had strong networks, or they had strong activism, or they had strong, there was an ongoingly active group that interfaced with city council or with the governmental officials, and that their recovery period was shorter and more successful. So the Tale of Two Sandies, you can probably Google it, and that would be another support to the wisdom of your approach.
Yes, thank you.
And then the 99, is that, I'm just curious, was that like an economic development group that divided up? Was it a civic? Was it the city government? I mean, what was the authority behind the division of the 99, and in what organizational or entity or authoritative realm do they operate in?
Did you have something on that or something different?
Yeah, I just did a 30-year group.
Awesome.
I work closely with the Community Development Fund. So the 99 neighborhoods, they're chartered and funded through HUD. And they're mandated. They have elections every 2 years for at least 3 officers, president, vice president, secretary. And they are fully supported by the administration.
The city administration?
Yes, the city administration, the mayor. He counts very well. Now, but my question directly was the contact information. I'm a member of the Birmingham Art Club, chartered in 1952. But we operate out of the A.M. Brown Community Facility in Smithfield.
Okay.
And majority of the original members are not there anymore, and we just rechartered.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I got notice this morning that our 501c3 has been accepted.
Oh, congratulations.
I need that type of information.
Okay. We got you. We'll make sure that that's shared with you guys.
Good morning. I want to give you 2 targets in the door. So the first target is when I'm a disability integration advisor. What that means is we try to figure out how to integrate people with disabilities into all FEMA processes and make sure they're served. When you use the word inclusive, and you've got it on several slides, you know, I don't see any indication that you include African-American kids with disabilities. Probably one of the most disenfranchised groups in the education system. Also, by doing so, by including them, you would open yourself up to other federal grants, Department of Education grants, and a number of others. So that's one target. Actually, that's 2 targets. So it's your population of African American in general, but what about the kids? And the other target is just the concept of children with disabilities. So the doorway in Birmingham, we have a gentleman named Graham Sisson. I'm going to give him his contact info. Graham is the director of the Governor's Office on Disability. It's kind of hard to forget because it's called Good. And he's a super guy. I was deployed in Alabama in floods and tornadoes a couple years back. Had the privilege of meeting him, so I'll pass that to you. Thank you.
Good morning. I have a question as far as in your grant making, you've done your research, you've looked into a particular project, and you've determined that this is something that's worthy of investment, that you are committed to seeing success in this type of program that is going to add value to your community, improve people's lives. I was wondering then, in part of your organization, do any type of grant coordination where there are other sources of grants that are available to these projects that you're wanting to fund, and can basically provide additional streams of revenue for that particular organization to have even greater success? And I'm just wondering, do you have a grant coordination aspect to your organization that helps them say, we're going to give you this much, but we're also going to help you get this grant written for this, and this grant written for this, and this grant written for this, because this is going to bring other money in and make you succeed, or give you the opportunity to succeed?
Yes, it goes back to being strategic, and so I don't think it's as clearly or as formally as you just stated. However, right, we are a component from the Community Foundation, Greater Birmingham. And so what we help organizations do, some organizations, small organizations who might not have a chance to get a grant through the Community Foundation's normal competitive grant process, by us making that recommendation that we use the funds and that we use funds to grant to them, it automatically means that they get a grant from the Community Foundation, which they can then use to go after and apply to say that we have grants from Community Foundation of Birmingham to go after other grants. The other piece to that is when we have other people who work alongside. So it's not a perfect example. So say education, I'm studying education. So we not only made a grant in the school district, but 2 of us ran for the school board. I'm on the school board because of that process. So same thing we do with other organizations. We join boards, we join junior boards in order to help steward other financial resources to help in that organization. So we do take a multi-pronged approach to supporting organizations.
As well as be an advocate for them in spaces where people may not know about these organizations. We'll talk about those collective works.
Okay.
Okay, good morning, thank you for coming. I noticed two things. One, when you spoke of the dues, 365, I think the campaign for $1 a day, I hope that's where you were going with that.
Yes.
And I was wondering two things. When you mentioned that you had people who were willing to come when it sounded like, you know, get on board and so forth, but when the money issue came up, were you speaking of the dues of $1 a day, or were you speaking of in a more, you know, substantial, and or would you allow someone to donate their time, convert their, well, we spoke of sweat equity yesterday, so would you allow someone to invest their time, talents and energy into it if they didn't have the $1 a day? I mean, if the $1 a day is being spent towards something else, you know, important in their lives. So that was my first question. And the second is, I was wondering if, because we speak a lot about best practices and also gaps, that's very important in our group. And when you mentioned the story of the groups who are all doing somewhat the same thing, but it sounded as if there was a gap between their, not just their communication, but why or what direction or what their intentions were. And I was wondering if, since you mentioned that you noticed it as well, do you have any best practices on how to bridge those gaps so that someone with your skill sets would be able to walk in to any organization that's trying to do the best for the community but may not be speaking to one another, not intentionally, but to offer up to us perhaps and how you helped solve that problem? Thank you.
I'll take the first part. So yes, so when we first started, our dues were not 365; they were 250. And so the thought was this, right? You had a number of individuals who were either from Birmingham, they grew up in Birmingham, gone off, went to college, came back, and were working. Everybody in that room had jobs, right? We were all young professionals. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, I had student debt. Everybody was working, right? And so to come up with that $250 a year, it hurt, right? But I came up with it because I believed in what we were doing. Sure. And it showed that I was invested. And so yes, if somebody wanted to give their time, we would take their time. But when it came down to figuring out the direction and what we're going to do, that was for the people who invested, who were fully invested.
Gotcha.
But once we made that decision, you want to join that and join us and help us fulfill on that board of that nonprofit or whatever, we were happy to bring you on until you could do the 250 or what have you. So we didn't push people away, but we had to figure out how we were going to limit it. Right? Sure. So,
yeah, and then the other part, just to piggyback on that, you know, all of us are heavily engaged in other organizations. So, you know, we have people that's on the board of the National Society of Black Engineers, or, you know, just other organizations. So there's a lot of overlapping boards within our network. Remind me of the second question.
About the best practices of the gaps between the communities that were doing, you know, the after school, the preschool, yeah.
Gotcha. I think that was almost something we stumbled into. I think we had kind of talked about, you know, the issue of there's a redundancy, you know, of organizations. What happened is we meet at, you know, 5:30 on the fourth Monday of every month. We ask the organizations to get there early. We ask them to sit in a room while we conducted like 30 minutes worth of business, and then we'll invite them in for the panel. What we realized is when we put them in that room and they actually talked, they were the ones that recognized, I didn't know that's what y'all did. And so they came in, that was the first thing that they said when we sat them at the panel. It's like, we didn't realize that, hey, we're working in each other's backyards, but we've never actually collaborated, actually sat down. So as you guys have probably seen, you know, competition is fierce for grant dollars as well as for volunteers. And so because of the perceived competition, it does break down communication barriers. But when people can look past the competition and see that we have a collective goal of making sure that our communities are resilient and strong, then that's, you know, the way. So I think in the wake of that, what we started doing is in our RFPs, we strongly encourage organizations to submit applications where they partner with other organizations. So what we really wanted was two organizations coming together and submitting a grant. And that's what we wanted to fund. I don't know that we've actually achieved that yet, but that's one of our ideas.
It's a working process.
It's a working process, because again, that perceived competition can be a barrier.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. As a mature person who is heavily involved in the community back home, I want to give you guys a standing ovation for your time, your effort, for number one, being young, Black, and African American, and working within your community. It's very important, as mature as I am, for me to have an issue back home and not see our young people getting as involved in the community as you guys are. So I just want to make sure that I give you a standing ovation.
Thank you. And I will say this before you answer the question. One of the things that really helped us starting out was we got matching funds from, was it Kellogg Foundation? Ford Foundation. So they matched, I think in the first year, a 3-to-1 match. Whatever money we raised, they matched a 3-to-1, and then it was a 2-to-1 match, and then a 1-to-1 match. So what we realized, to your point, traditional philanthropy is recognizing that the demographics of this country is changing. And so we really need to make sure that we're equipping young people of color to engage in philanthropy. And so because of that, we recognize that there are a lot of philanthropic foundations that are willing to match the funds that young struggling college students can generate, and they'll match that. So that's another thing that with our grantees, we want to make sure that they're aware of these other grant opportunities to kind of accelerate the good things that they're already doing.
So when natural disasters happen and FEMA is deployed, FEMA comes into town, there's a lot of fanfare. And so I encourage you to look past the fanfare and look for people who are on the outskirts, who might be doing good work, who are not necessarily in the fanfare, right? Because none of us were considered the quote-unquote leaders or what have you in Birmingham. But we all had talents and skills, and we knew what our talents and skills were, and we came together. So when you go to the communities, there are people like us in these communities. You just have to look for them, I believe that they'll come out. I believe in people. I believe when people get the opportunity to really shine and to really grow and do what they can do, I believe that they will.
And you know, a lot of people who are doing good work may not have a 501c3. And so I know oftentimes funding agencies need to be able to give that into a 501c3 for the accountability part, but that exacerbates the inequalities that we see where you have your typicals, not to call it names, but you have your United Ways and things like that, where you have these really large organizations, but they're not actually in the community. The people who are in the community may not have a bucket to be able to receive those funds. So that's another thing that we've been talking about is how can we take people that may not have the infrastructure, but partner them up with somebody that could be a fiduciary agent or a fiscal sponsor, so that the money actually gets into the hands of the people who can actually do the work. So we see that as an opportunity for us. Yes, sir.
Primary point. There's a grant writer in the Community Development Department now in City Hall.
Okay.
When they accept grants for CDBG,
yes,
the first call, beyond type of stuff like that. The first call is redundancy. They don't trash it. They decide which is better to allow them people. The second, Birmingham is home. I knew you guys were there, but I just received my 501c3 yesterday. Sir? That's right. Figure out the
Thank you for that. And that's another good point. You know, out of these 99 neighborhoods, there are some neighborhoods that have 501c3s or they have community land trusts or whatever. So that's another opportunity here is that when we go into these communities, if we can go ahead and start engaging neighborhood people and get them to set up their own buckets or set up relationships with existing 501c3s, maybe that'll make it easier to get money quickly into the hands of the people who can actually aid in recovery.
You got that staff?
We're volunteer staff.
a picture?
Yes, sir.
So just to piggyback on what Andy said earlier about community resiliency, I'm just wondering, given your treasure trove of community engagement that you have and all the network that you've created that's so active and lively, are you exploring like the some of the FEMA fundings and streams like the community preparedness grants? And if not, are you open to exploring it? Because I really struggle with that. Given the frequency of disasters and everything, you want to as well think about how you prepare your community to be ready when a disaster happens.
I think that's why we're here. You know, we want to understand what the opportunities are and what can we be doing, not only here in Birmingham, but throughout our community investment network to make sure that our people are aware of opportunities and we can put ourselves in a position to maybe receive some of those. So hopefully there's somebody in here that'll follow it, maybe Antonia, and kind of give us some guidance in that regard.
I was just wondering currently how you are tied in either with the city of Birmingham or whatever, is it the county? In the event there was a disaster, how are you really tied into you? So they're aware of you, so they know you're really good to go if that's something that happens.
So there are a couple of ways. One, since we are a fund of the Community Foundation of Greater Birmingham, when catastrophes happen or what have you, they're one of the places that generally house money. And so we have a voice there at that table because we're there. The other way that as we have grown in our careers, we have we've done well, and so we have members who are in different places in different aspects. So it would be difficult to come in Birmingham and not bump into us, or we not know what happens. Right? But we didn't necessarily start from the government angle. We really started with what can we do with our own funds in order to change our community. And so we really haven't explored a whole lot of grant writing and going outside of that. Because also what we were learning is that the majority of grant dollars that are available are through personal giving. It's through personal giving more than what federal grants, more than private foundation grants. The majority of giving is through personal giving. And so the example I use, so Birmingham is what we got 212,000 people. We have a school district of about 23,000 that's in the district. I'll say about 30 to 35,000 youth in the district. In our school district, it's 97% free reduced lunch. So that kind of sets you what's in what kind of the social status, economic status of Birmingham. When I looked at tax returns of 2012 of certain zip codes within that Jefferson County where Birmingham sits, Jefferson County, there were 10 zip codes in that county that had 70% or more African American population, and those 10 zip codes contributed $69 million in charitable giving.
Wow. Wow.
And so if you think of what happens in community power or Rise, these are small, you would think poor communities, but they're generating $2 million, $1 million in charitable giving. Now it's going to the church, I know that. However,
but that's important to know where the money resides in a lot of these communities.
There are resources in the communities that if we can get people to begin to take ownership, to partner when something happens. Can you imagine when communities have ownership of those resources and can coordinate them, what impact can FEMA have when they come in after natural disaster? With that paired with it, with the city government paired with the county government paired with it, and then you have really systemic and you have change. But we have to, from communities, we have to own that and understand that and what that means. And then as other grant making entities, whether it's a FEMA, whether it's a private foundation, what have you, being willing to to learn information about communities and see who's in communities in order to make these type of activities happen. I think there's a whole other level of funding needs to happen to get people engaged who are not engaged to make these communities even that much greater.
And I would say one last thing. The thing I'm most proud about, I know, as Birmingham Change Fund is probably given, I guess, almost $70,000 in grants. What I'm most proud about is the networks and relationships that we've built amongst each other. Because that sets the stage for other projects when things come up, or like Lyord says, there's very few things that happen in Birmingham without us knowing about it. And without Lyord picking up a call like, hey, did you hear about such and such? Like, no, I didn't hear about that. And so because of those networks, it allows us to be very responsive to things that happen. So taking this giving circle model, how we engage in collective philanthropy, as we replicate that across the country, hopefully we can have those networks to where we can actually respond to not only challenges, but also opportunities as they arise. I don't know where the microphone is. Yes, ma'am.
I guess you started out this conversation talking about what kind of partnership would be formed between FEMA and your organization. We talked about the preparedness grants, but that's on the preparedness side. This body here is primarily concerned with disaster recovery.
Okay.
And one of the things that we talked about, and I need to emphasize, many of the values that you emphasized on the PowerPoint presentation are also the values that are involved in particularly when we talk about community engagement. So in the event of disasters, when we go into communities to help them with recovery plans, and that involves engaging the community, it would be wonderful to have partnerships with organizations like yours, particularly in communities that have been historically marginalized, that aren't represented when we talk about planning and where we go forward and where the money goes, what community gets assistance. Having knowledgeable and invested community residents there who can tell us who also needs to be a team that historically uses this and take is a wonderful partnership to have. So I look forward to seeing that might flourish as well.
Thank you for that. We welcome that.
Something I'd like to suggest to you, and also everybody here who is working with communities, it is not too early to start preparing the communities and your contacts for the 2020 census. I worked with census for 2010, and I found that there were communities that did not know about the census, were not receptive to it, and were very undercounted. And a lot of people did not understand, not just the citizens, but the community leaders did not understand the serious long-term consequences of being undercounted in the U.S. Census. Because the data is used for many, many purposes, including funding. Everybody who's working with communities on whatever level, start talking and start getting people prepared and organized, because it's the most efficient thing to do is to respond to the mail census form. What you get in the mail, return it to the mail, rather than people having to go door to door in communities, which are often undercount, underrepresented, and low-income communities.
That's going to be a challenge for everybody. Nobody wants to go to the mailbox these days.
And the thing is, I think you can actually organize, I think for 2010, there were different community organizations that organized fill-in days. So everybody came to a community center, filled in their form, and they got mail. So there are creative ways to do it. And it's also, it can also be used as a lesson for civic engagement as to why it counts to be counted.
Yep, we have one more. Who was it over here? John.
You showed a slide earlier.
Closer.
I was focusing on your slide earlier where you said the circle of giving, the areas of focus were education, health, and economics. Can you go back to that slide?
Might have
The
been on
reason
video.
being- It was a video?
I
Okay.
think that was the video.
The reason being because I know you gave examples of initiatives in education, which I think is very powerful, because when you educate a community, they're able to do amazing things. But we focus, this cadre focuses on recovery, as Olivia mentioned earlier. You mentioned what information can we provide to you that will assist you in way forward. And I think because education is a component of the circle of giving, I know that FEMA has initiatives in terms of providing resources, educational tools, even facilitators to go out to communities, local organizations, state organizations, and even your state FEMA, your state emergency manager can be resourceful in making sure that that training, that those tools, that those resources are provided to your organization, so that you in turn can give that information to the various organizations that you're affiliated with. Because a prepared community is going to be a safe community. It will have an awareness of what to do when a disaster occurs.
Right.
So I think in reference to the educational component, because you said education, health, and economics, and I wanted to hear more about success stories in health as well. But we have the resources to make you prepared, to give you those tools, and even to bring facilitators to your communities to give you that training.
Thank you for that. How much time do we have left, or are we out of time?
So we have one last comment from our federal disaster recovery coordinator
Okay.
of this region.
Yeah, hey, good morning. Great presentation. I was the federal disaster recovery.
That's not for Bob.
Yeah.
I know that. Now you go, it's firmly in check. Now, what I wanted to say to you all, and you may know this, and Antonia and Edwin Ravel can help you get to what I'm about to say. But in 2011, we were there. We had a big team there for several months, and we did recovery plans for a number of Birmingham area communities. Not to, wave laundry or anything like that, but at that time, the city of Birmingham did not want our help, and they have capacity, so we got that. But we did recovery plans for Smithville and a few others around.
Pratt City.
On and on. I have always wondered how those plans turned out. The question about, we do long-term recovery, how could you all link up? I would suggest that you guys could find those plans, read those plans, figure out what the community partners were at that time, go and visit them, because I would honestly say, I think it was, all in all, it was inadequate. And if you came back to me and said, those plans are just sitting there, it would not surprise me. Because we really weren't able to do capacity building like I think we now do. We really weren't looking at the full life cycle of recovery planning and post-disaster. And although I'm in Atlanta and I'm the regional federal disaster recovery coordinator in Alabama and Birmingham, obviously, are my area, it's hard for me, just one person, to come in and suddenly fix that. You guys are in the perfect position to pick that up and advocate for those communities and advocate for the resources. I know it's a little outside of what you're talking about today, but you are in a perfect spot. And I'd be happy to work with you all if that's necessary, but certainly Antonia can get you to those.
Yeah, I would love to learn more and find out where those plans are. I mean, do cities have to report those plans back to you, and do you house them somewhere?
Well, we do, and I can pull up some I got for you as we do them at the community level, so they really belong to the community. It's a community oriented planning process, so they're their plans.
Right.
I just think we were new. In fact, we were actually piloting the National Disaster Recovery Framework. A lot of people say they piloted it first. No, you did. Trust me, I know that. But anyway, so there's good work there that needs to be built upon. And I know that Edwin Ravel, who actually we didn't know at the time until very late in the process, has really immersed himself in the NDRF and has gone to the trainings and that sort of thing. Okay. So